Today on Adjusting, we are talking about another cognitive distortion, but this one is the cousin of labeling. Overgeneralization. We're going to slow things down, okay? We're going to talk about what overgeneralization is, how it shows up in the body, the usual things. And then we're going to adjust. We're going to not talk about imposter syndrome, but talk about achievement dysmorphia and the guilt and shame that comes with overgeneralization as it comes to your success. And then I'm going to give you 5 simple tools, okay, and 5 words to really sit with, journal about, and grow from. By the end of this episode, you are going to feel like a new person. You're going to be encouraged and inspired to write the story, change the script, and be the person you're meant to be. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And we're back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Y'all, this week we're talking about overgeneralization, and I have a word for you, okay? I really enjoyed reading more about this topic because, again, a lot of this whole series of cognitive distortions came from my therapy conversation and my therapist and I trying to pinpoint like what type of anxiety I was experiencing when it comes to being a creative and in my friendships, in my professional life as like a brand strategist working at church. And I just got a promotion, y'all. Starting today, I'm officially a content captain at my merchandise job, which is fun. It's going to be fun, but it's also something I can add to my resume. So that's great. So clap for me. Thank you. But before we get to too much of the details, we got to stop and thank TJ with Tea with TJ podcast for everything he does behind the scenes with editing. He be pumping them out. Yeah, I'm like, you go, boy, because it's stressful. And make sure you support him and his podcast and all the projects that he's working on. Also, I am launching a newsletter. I was talking to my assistant, and I just really need to be more aggressive with how I promote this podcast because it's a lot of things I want to do with it, and I'm as the old people say, I'm pussyfooting around, whatever. I'm not being aggressive enough. Okay, so I really have to push it out some more. So in April, I will launch my newsletter. It will work in tangent with Substack, but more information with that to come. And then I'll get back on my affirmations that I literally just dropped the ball on. I did one video and just like, So that kind of goes into this topic today. However, we need to ground ourselves, okay? We need to make space for the conversation ahead because there's a lot of shifting and reframing that is going to happen in this episode. So if you are driving, focus on the road. Don't close your eyes. You can breathe, okay? Because you need to stay alive. But I need you to focus on the road, okay? So if you have road rage, you need to do this exercise. If you are at home or at work or at school or somewhere where you can just take a few seconds to ground yourself and kind of refresh your nervous system because you may need it. You may need it. Let's begin. So we're going to do our 4-7-8 breathing. Plant your feet flat on the ground. And you're going to relax your shins, relax your knees, relax your thighs, relax your hip flexor, relax your stomach, relax your chest, relax your shoulders, roll your shoulders back, relax your neck, relax your chin, relax your cheeks, relax your forehead and close your eyes. And we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. Let it all out. We're going to do one more grounding breath just to make sure. I had to look over to make sure everything was recording because I'm a little traumatized. But just take one deep breath in and out. Breathe in and out. Let it all out. Great. So, what is overgeneralization? We're going to start with addressing it. So, overgeneralization, a lot of these are going to start sounding the same, okay? Overgeneralization is the cousin to labeling. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. But overgeneralization is when you take one single event, whether it's a rejection, a failure, anything that went wrong, one time, and you make it the overall conclusion, okay? That this is how it will always be. That's the end of the episode, basically. But no, it's like when your mind leaps from that didn't work to nothing ever worked. So it's like almost like all or nothing, but it's more of the nothing, never the all. Okay. And it's the mental move from specific data to the point of global belief. So I'm going to talk a lot about like universal terms and not in the moment terms. So we have like always or never. Those are like global, universal ways of thinking. I always mess things up. I never get chosen. This always happens to me. People never say these words feel like facts when you say them, but they're not. They're overgeneralization. So when you say people always hating on me, that's a stretch. I don't think many people know you. Or people never support me. That's a stretch. Okay, because people do support you, but it's not as many people that you want to support you. So, like I said, this is the cousin or the sister to labeling, which is overgeneralization turned inward. So instead of saying I failed at this one thing, you say I'm a failure. This event becomes an identity. And today, church, we are going to change our name. My goodness, I'm joking. And once something is your identity, it is very hard to imagine it being any other way. So together, overgeneralization and labeling create a self-reinforcing loop. Something goes wrong, you decide it's a permanent pattern. You start acting like it's permanent, and then reality starts to reflect the belief you built. It's not faith. It's not fate, sorry. It's a thought pattern that got mistaken for one. So how does this show up in our day-to-day spaces? So instead of talking about relationships today, I'm going to talk about friendships. I'm going to talk about friends, okay? So if a friend cancels plans and you are suddenly convinced in that moment they cancel, they say, hey, I'm not feeling well, I need to cancel, or hey, something come up, I need to cancel. You automatically, sometimes, if this applies to you, and you automatically go to the, they always cancel me, so I'm not a good friend, or no one wants to spend time with me. You're doing the thing again. That's a stretch. Okay, you're overgeneralizing. The one group chat you feel left out of becomes evident that you're always on the outside. Overgeneralization in friendships is painful because belonging is a primal need. Like we need the sense of being in community or feeling like we're accepted in a place, okay? One snub, one forgotten invitation, one unanswered text becomes proof of a pattern that might not exist at all. We have to give grace, and we're going to talk about that in part 3, but we have to learn to give grace to people. And also, again, we're going to talk about this later, we have to be okay with leaving people where they are. If this one person always cancels or always finds an excuse to back out of something, or you notice a pattern that is not you, but it's them not your people. Them not your people. But anxiety and some childhood wounds, we're going to talk about this new term called achievement dysmorphia. And it's like, you've gotten to a place of success, but because you don't have the support, the appreciation, the affirming nature that comes with it, mixed with a little bit of guilt. You're just like, well, yay, but like no one cares. But do you care? And I really want us to shift that overgeneralization mindset from a them thing to a me thing. Like, how do I feel about this? If it's not serving me, if it's not healing, if it's not moving me forward and holding me in a space that I'm not supposed to be, that I've outgrown, we need to go. Okay. In creative work, you share something you made, a painting, a piece of writing, a book, music, something, anything that's creative in the performing arts world, and it doesn't land the way you hope. Maybe low engagement, okay? Maybe the algorithm just didn't push it out, and you really just like people didn't see it. And before you know it, you're not questioning that one piece. Okay, you're saying, well, maybe I was never supposed to do this. I'm actually not an artist. I don't have what it takes to do this. I should stop. And a lot of people do. A lot of people do. But imagine, close your eyes and imagine. Imagine if, I'm going to use a very cliche thing. Imagine if Viola Davis had a rejection that stopped her. We would never get to experience the greatness that she is. Imagine if Beyonce, okay, when she was at the talent show and she got third place. Imagine if that was her end. And she was like, I'm not supposed to perform. I'm going to work in an office. Jessica Vosk. Y'all don't know her, okay, but I'm going to tell you about her. Jessica Vosk is a Broadway performer. She is currently in the upcoming musical Beaches at the Majestic Theater. And she started off, I think she was in a talent show or she did some type of karaoke thing and then got rejected, ended up working in an office job until she was 27, 29. And then she didn't feel fulfilled. So she shifted her overgeneralization to, let me try that again. Let me try one more time. And that one more time landing her on Broadway. She did a couple of shows. She did Hell's Kitchen. And now she's debuting her lead role. Like, this is the first time playing a lead role. But just imagine if we allow our rejections to dictate our future by using the cognitive distortion or overgeneralization. Well, you get one life, y'all. We get one chance to show up every day and put our best foot forward. It can be your right or your left foot, but just put a foot forward, okay? And really shift into moving from overgeneralization. I was just thinking before this, like, it can't be a end all be all kind of thing. It has to be like I'm gonna end it and I'm gonna be it. I'm gonna end the thing that's stopping me, but I'm gonna be the thing I know I want to be. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. And then when in the healing journey. So if you are in a season of healing, you're doing therapy, recovery, you are journaling, mindful practices, and all those things. You're rebuilding after a season of trauma. Overgeneralization can be ruthless. You can have one hard therapy session, one session where you don't have an outcome. You are left with questions. And that's the thing about therapy people don't talk about. You go into therapy thinking it's a quick fix. You have to break down those walls you put up for so long in order to really get to the root of a lot of things. I know for me, it took me 3 years to really just open up about things. And my therapist is just like, oh, okay, let's redo the anxiety test and the depression test just to make sure we're like really getting to the truth. Because you can say one thing in order to protect yourself. And once the questions really start coming and the safe space really feels safe and you open up, baby. But again, overgeneralization, it has you feeling like I'm never in therapy, I'm never going to get better. You have a panic attack after 3 good weeks, and you like, I'm back at square one. Healing is not linear. Okay, it is not linear. It's a bunch of steps. It's some crawling, okay, some tripping, okay. But overgeneralization needs to be, because it's always looking for proof that nothing changes. In my religious and faith communities, overgeneralization often gets theological. One season of feeling spiritually dry becomes God doesn't hear me. And ooh, y'all, if you were raised, if you were raised in a black church and it comes to tithe and offerings, and they're quick to say, well, God not blessing you because you not giving. And you need to get that 10%. Because the Lord told me today, y'all, I don't hear you in here. The Lord told me today to tell you, and if you give, he will give it back to you tenfold. And then you are left feeling guilty because if you don't have it to give, you then feel, I will never be blessed. The doors of the church are open, but it's like that one moment of doubt becomes I don't have real faith. One time the community lets you down becomes religion is just another thing that fails people, and we got to do better. We got to do better about not weaponizing people's down moments as a way to spin it for some type of financial gain. Like the church suffers at times but I blame the leaders. The leaders, the pastors, some of the ministers, and the deacons don't have the spiritual and emotional know-how, reasoning, education, tools to really lead people who are hurt. You can't always use scripture to provide healing for traumatic experiences. You can't. Sometimes you need silence. Sometimes you need dialogue, but you can't just always use scripture. Not saying the scripture isn't a great source, foundation, and starting point, but you can't always use it. Moving on. In language expression in daily life. The language of overgeneralization is everywhere in how we narrate our days. And most of us don't even notice when we're using it. In goal settings, okay? You skip a week, a day, a month, even a year, and you just like, I got off track, I'll start again. And you decide, I'm not someone who follows through. That label, here we go back to labeling, that label once attached becomes the reason you don't try again, not your circumstances, okay? Not your capacity. It's the conclusion your brain has drawn. That amygdala, okay? That excuse my language, that motherfucker is deadly. If you do not feed it properly, if you do not nourish your brain with healthy alternatives, and more positive ways of thinking, listen, okay? But how does this show up as trauma? So overgeneralization isn't just a bad thinking habit. It's a nervous system adaptation. Your brain learned it, okay? Very early and very reasonably that patterns were dangerous. That one bad thing often meant more bad things were coming. We talk about this a lot in the other episodes with hostile living environments and music. I talk about how senses sometimes can trigger certain things and make things come up. Instability, if you grew up in a domestic violence situation or alcoholic or drug, like those things are really triggering and creates a sense of overgeneralization. Again, the amygdala, okay? The brain generalizes in ways that aren't useful. She left becomes people leave. And I know a lot of people who deal with depression always go to the always never mindset. People always treat me like this, so I never have people around. They didn't pick me up because I'm not someone people chooses. If you've ever been picked last in a game, okay, and recess, and they're playing dodgeball and they pick you last, you probably dealt with overgeneralization. People always pick me last. I'm not good enough. Okay? I've been picked last, and I actually won the game. So take that. For people living with anxiety, overgeneralization is jet fuel. Anxiety already wants to find the threat, predict the worst, and stay one step ahead of the painful thing. Overgeneralization gives anxiety a script to work from. Okay? And then for people in or moving through depression, overgeneralization keeps the exit door locked. Depression already limits your access to hope and positive experiences. So overgeneralization provides the justification, church, for why limitation makes sense. So we talked, like I just mentioned briefly, like how it started. So overgeneralization almost always has roots in early experiences. Rejection heavy childhood, emotional environments where mistakes were treated as character flaws. So if every misstep was met with shame, withdrawal of affection, or explosive anger, you learned that mistakes meant something big and permanent. Social rejection. Okay, we just talked about that. But let's move to the adjusting section, talking about why shifting this pattern actually works. And I took notes. Okay, I have notes in my notes. That's how good this is. All right. So get some water if you need it, and let's dive in. So it actively rewrites your future before you get to live it. When you've decided, based on past experiences, based on bad failures, based on that one rejection, that one typo, that one piece of feedback that just felt like it was the end, you felt that something is always going to go a certain way. You stop trying to make it differently. Well, why would you? Okay, the verdict's already in. You've already made a decision. It happened like this before. It's going to be that way again. Okay, but this is why overgeneralization is one of the most behavior limiting distortions there is, because it doesn't just change how you feel. It changes what you do, what you try, how you show up, where you go, who you associate with. It just shifts everything. Okay, this motherfucker is deadly if you do not have proper care and support to shift your way out of it. And relationships suffer a lot. Okay? Because you listen, I'm big into zodiac signs. And I am the king of, if you are a Virgo, stay away from me. Because I had one bad situation with a Virgo. And I have labeled every Virgo as trash. I haven't been proven wrong yet, though. I'm sorry. I'm consistent with my Virgo slander. So if you're a Virgo listening to this, I don't like you. As a partner, I would say that. As a creative, y'all are really good people. As a partner, some creatives, some of y'all, because yeah, no. Anyway, when one person lets you down and you conclude people can't be trusted, you start relating to every new person through this lens. Again, Virgos. You hold back, you brace yourself for it. You sometimes even unconsciously create the distance that confirms the belief. Now, some of y'all be blocking y'all blessings from a lot of good people, okay? Some of y'all are used to red flags, and when the green flag shows up, y'all don't know how to act. You try to paint it red. You say, well, they smile too long at me, so I don't trust them. I'm sorry. Do you not like appreciation? They laughed at my joke. It wasn't funny. So why you make a joke? You okay, lamb? Precious lamb. And then creatively and professionally, the stakes are just high. Okay, the creative who decides after one rejection they're not talented enough stops making the work the world actually needs. So, if you are a creative listening to this is your sign to start back creating. Okay? I want you all to realize that there are more ways to get to the end. And sometimes working together, collaborating, collective community, healthy conversations expands a person's way of thinking. If people didn't explore in the gray, live in the gray, embrace their curiosity, we would be stuck with a lot of basic shit. Okay? We wouldn't have different light filaments. We wouldn't have different color ink pens. We wouldn't even have different pen tips. Okay, I'm a 0.5 person. Some of y'all are 0.35. Okay, some of y'all have no taste in ink pens. Are you well? If people were stuck in their creative rut and they overgeneralize things, we would not have the abundance of variety that we need. Whether it's stationary, I love stationary, y'all, but performance based books, You see this back here? My library. Yeah, I bought 10 more books since we last met. No, I'm joking. We met last week. I bought 10 books this month. Okay. It's been a lot of reading done. But we wouldn't have these diverse stories. We wouldn't be able to carry on the history and things if we just stayed where we are due to overgeneralization. Shifting this pattern matters because you deserve to make decisions about your life based on what's actually true. What's actually true, what's tangible, what is true, thus says the Lord. Okay, not on a story your brain built from your most painful moments. You deserve to walk into new opportunities without the weight of every previous disappointment judging the outcome. I'm gonna say that again. You deserve to walk into new opportunities without the weight of previous disappointments determining the outcome. Now, I talked about achievement dysmorphia. I don't want to keep talking about imposter syndrome. I want to talk about achievement dysmorphia. Case in point, if you are someone who's like the first in the family to do something. So you're the first one to get a master's degree, first one to get a doctorate degree, first one to get married without having kids, first one to have a child. Like the first you carry that burden and the weight of the first, and also the guilt of, well, I'm the first, but people aren't really happy for me and they feel some type of way. So achievement dysmorphia works the same way, but in a different direction. It's when you cannot accurately see or internalize what you've actually built, done, or become, even when the evidence is sitting right in front of you. You're successful. You've done the work, but you don't see it. You see it. Instead, the accomplishment happens, other people see it clearly, but somehow you can't. Okay? Now, this is how it connects to overgeneralization. Achievement dysmorphia is what happens when you overgeneralize a belief about your own inadequacies so deeply and for so long that it becomes a filter. You're not just thinking you're not capable. You literally cannot see the evidence that you are. Okay? The win happened, the distortion just won't let it land. More. Okay, so achievement dysmorphia tends to hit hardest in people who are first generation, first in their families. Like I said, go to college, start a business to reach a certain level of income in a professional space. So when you don't have a relational map for where you've arrived, your brain doesn't know how to make it feel real. You keep wanting and waiting to feel like you belong somewhere you've already earned. So we oh Jesus, a lot of us want seats at tables we're already sitting at. Some of us want to be in rooms we're already in. Some of us want to be in rooms we're already in. But because we allow imposter syndrome, but achievement dysmorphia to deflate our success, and we've overgeneralized thinking that I'm never going to be at this place, but you are at this place, but I'm never going to, but you are. But like you wrestle with that. That's achievement dysmorphia showing up as the little baby of overgeneralization. So high achievers and creators who grew up in environments where nothing was ever right enough, where the bar kept moving, where praise was rare, where you learned that your worth lived in the next thing and not the current one. Yeah, achievement dysmorphia is the adult version of that childhood experience. So the reframe, okay. Your achievements are not smaller than they look to everyone else. Your perception of them is distorted by a long history of overgeneralized beliefs about what you're capable of and what you deserve. Know your worth, okay? Know that you deserve to be in every room you desire to be in. Know that sometimes every seat at the table ain't the one for you. You can make your own table. And if it's not enough room, bring your own seat. They'll make room. They will adjust. Now, let us move on to section 3, applying. Now, how Can we shift? How can we actually make this shift? So the first thing I want you to do is catch the universal. Okay, so we're going to catch ourselves when we start using things like always and never. When you notice yourself thinking in always and never language, okay, treat those words as a flag, not as evidence. All right, the distinction between never and this time is where your freedom lives. Okay, say that again. The distinction between never and this time, that little gap right there, is where your freedom lives. It's where you allow grace and curiosity, okay, and exploration to go, you know what? This time, I'm going to live in the now and accept things for what they are. I'm going to treat myself, okay? I'm going to pat myself on my back and say, you did it this time. Okay, and it'll be a ripple effect to the next time. I'm gonna do it again, and then I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna do it again. Right? Okay. You don't have to have a counter argument ready for anything. Okay, just interrogating the universal with the specific language is enough to start loosening the grip. I'm gonna do it again. Okay, and the second thing, we're gonna name the leap. Okay. Overgeneralization often involves a leap from one specific experience to a conclusion. Practice naming the leap out loud in writing. I'm making a leap from this presentation didn't go well to I'm not good enough. For me, it's with my clients. Like achievement dysmorphia, imposter syndrome be kicking my ass. All right. I be killing it. Like, I posted the content. I'm getting this out here. I'm doing this. The engagement might not be there, but trust the algorithm. Okay. I'm doing my part. It's only so much I can do. Okay. And there are times, like, I've had some clients be like, I don't see enough. I had one client and, I did Pinterest for them. No, I did Flipboard for them, and they just cut me out. Just like, I'm not seeing the growth or the benefit from this. Thank you. I'm into my contract. And I was just like, so I was just like, well, shit. Like, I then shifted to like, well, if I mess up again, I'm always going to be let go from a contract. No matter how much work I put in, they're not going to see like how much time it takes. Like, I tell people, you have to give a platform 30 to 90 days, 60 to 90 days in order to see growth. In the first 30 days, the algorithm is taking your data, flipping it, trying to figure out what you're doing to shift, how you can fit into the equation of the overall overarching picture of what is called a platform, and then shift. But sometimes December, April, July, November, December, those months, high ads months. So it's really hard to put your brand into the puzzle piece of the algorithm. Okay. And when you are a content creator, you overgeneralize thinking that it's you, and it's not. It's not. And the third tool is the specific counter. So when a global belief shows up, the always and never, I never follow through. Your job is not to argue with emotionally, not to argue with it emotionally. Your job is to find one specific concrete example. Okay. Not 5, just 1. There was this one time I showed up to therapy every day for 3 months. That's enough. Okay? Think about the times you actually have followed through with something. And let that be your starting post. It's like, I've actually done this before. With me, it's weight loss. I've lost weight before. Okay? I've gotten down to 142 pounds. And I'm going to do it again. Not 142. I think like 155, 154, something like that. But it's going to be great. And then the last thing is, I'm calling this the bigger picture. Okay, so we have to zoom out from things. We have to learn how to zoom out. When something painful happens and your brain immediately jumps to it being in the forever, generally ask, how long has this actually been true? Not in an argumentative way, though. In a conversational, gentle parenting, gentle self way. Just say, is this something that has been consistent for years? Okay. Or is this something that recently started? Is this a pattern or just a rough patch? Is this a season or an era? All right. See the bigger picture. Don't just get wrapped up in the simple moment. Now, here are 5 words I want you to write down from this episode: growth, shift, itemize, grace, and purpose. All right. So in friendships, growth. The next time you feel excluded or disconnected from someone you care about, resist the urge to immediately draw a conclusion. That's growth. Okay. If you continuously show up in spaces, in friendships, in social settings, and you don't feel accepted, appreciated, seen, valued, heard, move. That's growth. It is nothing personal. Okay. You've just outgrown this space. Second word, shift in creative work after a hard creative experience, something that didn't land, the feedback was given, or a project didn't come together. Try writing this sentence. This specific piece didn't work the way I wanted to, but I'm still a creative. Shift your mind perspective. Okay, I want you to be able to shift your way of thinking and realize that, again, there's more than one way to get to the end. And sometimes we just need another perspective. Take a nap. Take a step back. I'm playing this game. This is so random, but I'm playing this game called Sand Loop. Okay, and I always go one way. Like I always start left to right on the thing that goes, and I go left, left, and I'm always trying to build. And I was just like, and I would lose and lose and lose. And I was like, you know what? Let me shift. Let me start from the right. Let me start from the opposite end of it. Beat it every time. So just shift the way you approach something. And then at work, when something goes wrong professionally, you missed the deadline, the project you've been working on didn't perform well, you got feedback on something that you were just like, I don't know. Practice staying in the debrief rather than the verdict. What specifically happened here is the debrief question. And this is why I say you should itemize things. You should itemize things based off stress level, okay? If the person giving you the feedback always fails at something, low priority. If the feedback or something you worked on is contingent on like the success and growth in the company, a bonus or something like that, high priority, okay? But like we're not going to take those universal languages into this space. The fourth thing in healing and faith spaces, if you're in a season of deconstruction, recovery, or rebuilding your relationship with faith, overgeneralization can be especially loud. Okay? One harmful church experience becomes all organized religion is toxic, or one season of doubt becomes I never really believed. Give yourself grace in these seasons. Times are hard, okay? And some of our leaders are doing the best they can. A lot of them weren't trained with how to be a spiritual leader in times of war, literal war, okay? So grace is your best friend in this season. And then the last thing in daily life and goal setting, progress is almost never linear. And overgeneralization is the number one reason people give up on their goals that were actually really working for them. Okay? When you miss a day, a week, a month, even a year, the question to ask isn't what does it say about me? The question, the reframe is to say, what got in the way and what do I need to start again? And this is why I say purpose. Knowing your purpose, knowing what will get you out of bed every morning, knowing that one thing people always say, what is one thing you do for free that really excites you that you would never charge for? Like that thing, that will help you get over the hump of overgeneralization, okay? What you're saying, like what does it say about me and what got in the way, those are two completely different conversations, and one of which you don't need to be having. Great, but when it's hard, be careful about seeking reassurance from the wrong people, especially if you just cuss someone out and you coming back, was that mean? I don't think that's the person you should be asking. But find a trusted person, a best friend, or a therapist. And for that, I say, I am not a therapist, okay? I'm going to tell you to cuss people out. But have a good friend that's going to give you honest feedback, okay? And then also visit my website. I have a list of resources and places where you can go to really find ways to combat this universal language. So, in the end, this is what I want you to leave with. You are not a pattern, you are a person. Okay? One who has been through specific things at specific moments in specific circumstances that were never the whole of who you are. The hard things happen. I'm not asking you to pretend they didn't, because baby, those things create some of the most beautiful moments. The books, the movies, the music, okay? The podcast. Like, all those things create beautiful moments. One bad day is not a forecast. One relationship that ended bad is not an example or the end all be all. You are deserving of the love you desire. One season of struggle is not your permanent address, okay? So this week, I want you to catch yourself one time you're using a universal language of always and never, and ask, is this actually always, or is this just right now? You showing up and doing this kind of thinking, that's not nothing, that is everything. And until next time, keep adjusting. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.